Holy crap, guys. I just finished all of the Greg Berlanti CW TV shows, and I gotta recap them right here. I'm not gonna recap all of them all at once. That would just be one huge, long-winded video, and I'm sure you don't want that, so I'll probably do 3-4 individual videos. One tackling Legends, then The Flash, Arrow. I got 2 episodes left in Super, and here we go.
Knock, knock, open up the door. It's Will.
So, Legends of Tomorrow. Initially, when I heard about this show, there was just slight rumors about it. Just talking about Captain Cold, Atom, Black Canary, Firestorm show, and I was just kind of going like, DC, I know you're doing great on TV right now, but don't fuck it up. Please don't mess it up. Please, you're doing so good. What are you doing? And then they mentioned this Legends of Tomorrow thing, and I was kind of going, wait. That's a name of one of those like great obscure DC books from the past that would tackle like a few stories. And right now there is a new DC comic title, I'll probably throw an image of it right now, where they're essentially tackling all the Legends of Tomorrow heroes, just to let you know, like, oh hey, here's their original backstory, or here's their new backstory. It's like a little anthology comic. It's pretty sweet. I haven't picked it up, but it looks nice. It's a little bit thicker and it costs a little bit more, but you get several stories. It should be a good time. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the show. Legends of Tomorrow. They mentioned Rip Hunter being played by Arthur Darvill, and I was like going, wait. Rory is playing a Time Master. Like, he studied under one of the best, Matt Smith, a Time Lord, and now he's surpassed him as a Time Master. But they said the premise was they were just going to get all together and fight Vandal Savage, and the Hawk people were going to show up, so that just, like, blew our minds. Like, oh my god, they're going to do so much. What? Holy crap. In the team, it would be Sarah Lance, because at that time when they announced that she was dead, so we were excited she was coming back. The Atom was going to have a bigger part. Heatwave and Captain Cold, which threw me off initially, but I love them in this show now. They're pretty awesome. Firestorm, the new version, because we initially thought Ronnie was coming back. I even think they shot some stuff to make us think, oh, hey, Ronnie's back, but they did something different with that. And the Hawk people. Trailer, and it looks like they initially filmed something with Stephen Amell and Barry getting certain members together to help out Rip, or they meet Rip. But they have clearly abandoned that idea and came up with a new idea where Rip Hunter is a Time Master from the year 2166, and his family is killed by Vandal Savage, and Vandal Savage takes over the world. We find out a cool twist later about like why this is allowed to happen, but that's for later in the video. He has to go back in time and grab heroes from the past to help him stop Vandal Savage in the past, present, future, whenever they can stop him, so his family doesn't die and he doesn't take over the world. And he tells them initially, like, oh, hey, like, you guys are going to be legends if you do this, which, if you're a big DC Comics fan, all these guys are legends. We love these guys. Sarah Lance is a bit obscure. The new Jefferson Jack's Firestorm is a new character. Just, like, we know these characters, and we're like, yeah, those are legends. Yeah, hell yeah. Glad to hear they have a great future. Even in the trailer, he mentions, oh, I met Dark Knights and Men of Steel, which, if they ever do that, if they ever come back to that promise, they're probably going to do like some like Black Knight obscure character, or the Metal Men from DC, which I feel like that they're going to do that. That's why they set that up. They just want to say those references because Superman and Batman in that movie was coming out. But those guys up because they have no impact on the timeline. They will have an impact if they help Rip, but besides that, they all die, go their separate ways. They leave little bips on the timeline. They don't do anything exciting. The finale. The main mission has been trying to kill Vandal Savage, and they're finally coming to a head to it. Vandal goes back in the past with his time ship. He gets one in the previous episode from the Time Masters because he's been working with them. Turns out, if Vandal Savage isn't taking over the world, Thanagar takes over our world. That's where the Hawk people, like Hawk Girl, Hawkman, and you probably saw it in the Justice League Season 2 finale, when they just try to invade. If Vandal Savage is in charge, that reality happens. Thanagar takes over. Earth is like demolished if Vandal Savage isn't in charge. So his big plan is to get these 3 meteorites, which are Thanagar weapons, to reset time to the 1700s, so he can just rule from back then. So he is the only way of life, etc. Vandal Savage is a really interesting and great character. Casper Crumb, I believe that's how it's pronounced, is a great Vandal Savage. I enjoyed like the little thicker accent because I've seen different versions of him. Like the Justice League version, like seems like a more sophisticated, more like a dictator. I've seen a caveman version of him. in Brave and the Bold, and now this version, which seems to be more like Egyptian based and more like foreign, which I'm not opposed to new versions of the character, but it's just really interesting, cool character. The team gets dropped off back in 2016 in May, of course, because they had to set it up to be all weird with our timeline, make it sync up. Them being dropped off was almost pointless. I think the only reason they got dropped off was so Sarah could find out Laurel died in Arrow. Sorry. I should have mentioned this earlier, but there's going to be spoilers. I'm going to put it in the description and stuff, but there's spoilers throughout these videos. I mean, why are you watching a recap video if you don't want spoilers? Out, they all get in touch with Rip because Adam and Professor Stein are geniuses and have been learning stuff on the time ship, so they find a way to contact Rip. And they're like, oh, hey, any luck finding the Vandal Savage? And he's like, no. But since you guys have been bugging me, let's go find him. He goes back to 1944 to find the last meteorite he needs to do that super crazy, obscure plan I told you about. In the process, Hawkgirl gets away and puts a note inside of a helmet she remembers seeing in Rip's ship. I believe that's a character, Sergeant Rock or Sergeant Stone. I'll put the actual name somewhere in here, but I know it's a DC character. And she remembered the helmet from Rip's ship. Puts a note in there to tell them, hey, I'm at this time period. Come here now. I need your help. They go. They fail in stopping him grab that meteorite, but in the end, they all go to different time periods he's in. One time, there's one version of him in the future. There's one version of him in the past, like in the I want to say the 70s or 50s, or from where they first started in the show, and then another version of him in the past. And they all stop him, and Sha'ira, we find out, the hot girl earlier in the season, is the only one who can kill Vandal Savage, but she has to have a Thanagarian weapon or an Egyptian thing from when she was hit by the meteorite. It's really complicated to kill Vandal Savage because he's immortal. And they end up doing that and killing him, and they destroy him in all three time periods. It's pretty sweet. Their mission's done because this whole season, I thought like it was just going to be a waste. They were not going to be able to do it because at every turn, like their plan would be foiled, or they would try to get a head up on Vandal Savage, but then the feature would get fucked up. Just the crazy stuff would happen, and I was just dreading watching the show because I didn't want to see all these characters I love fail, and I just kind of going like, oh, there needs to be a point to the show. They need to stop Savage, please. You need to do it because if you don't, on the last episode, like this. All 16 of these episodes would have been a waste, and I don't want to waste my time. There's other comic book shows I want to do. There's other videos I want to do. I don't want to see it. My heroes fail, but they are successful, and then they go back to their respective times. Also, in the previous episode, we find out the heroes have been controlled by this thing called the Oculus. Not one of those Oculus Rift things, but the Time Masters have been making the Legends of Tomorrow go to different time periods. They haven't been making their choices as they think. Like, they have no free will or whatever. So, they go to blow up this thing, and Rip, before this mission, saw a vision of the future where Ray is going to die, and he ends up seeing, like, a flash. He sees it again, like, when he sees Adam about to blow up this Oculus thing. He's like, oh, hey, I gotta stay here to blow it up. And Rip's like, no, this is how you die. Heatwave knocks him out, and he's like, no, I'll do it. And then Captain Cold, Whitworth Miller, comes and saves the day. Boom, knocks him out. Gets the little smooches from Sarah, the White Canary, and he takes his place instead. Though that's almost anticlimactic now because there's been an announcement that he's going to be in all 4 of the shows coming in next season. Oh no, yeah, Supergirl's in the mix now. Not in the show, but she is in the Berlanti Universe, so that's crazy, and I'm super excited about that. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff. But Mick gets to tell him goodbye in 2013, right before like everything in the Berlanti universe is going to get cool and awesome. And Captain Cold's like, oh, I don't do touchy-feelys. Well, hey, you're one of the best guys I know, blah, blah, blah. And the Hawk people go their separate ways because Carter and Hawkgirl just want to do their own thing. And not gonna lie, I wasn't crazy about this Hawkgirl. I love the version we had in Justice League, and the one in Earth 2, which this one's sort of loosely based on, is a little bit more interesting. I was not a fan of her. Carter, I really liked him, but they killed him off in the second episode. I mean, it's anticlimactic because these guys can regenerate. They could grab him at a different time period, but we didn't get him back until the end of the season, and he was only in the Legends crossover pre this. We didn't get to know Hawkman that much, and Hawkman's a bit underrated. So I'm kind of like, what the fuck, guys? But maybe there's potential for him to show up later on in season 2 with the crazy reveal we get. So the rest of the team that can come back comes back. We get Heatwave / Kronos, Adam, Firestorm, White Canary, and Rip, and they're like, all right, let's get in the time ship. We're getting ready to do this thing. And then another future version of the Wave Rider comes, crashes in, and this hooded figure comes. His suit's all black and cool looking. He takes off his hood, and he's like, I'm Rex Tyler. I'm like, who the hell is that? Because I am a big DC fan, but I have gaps in knowledge. But he's like, I'm from the Justice Society of America. You sit me, Mr. Rory. If you get on that ship, you guys die. And then credits. I'm like, Justice Society of America, holy crap! Because I know the Justice Society. They showed up in Smallville. They've showed up in brief periods in comics I've read, and I know there's a great affinity for those characters. They're the Silver Age. Just, oh my god, I'm super excited about that. And he's Hourman. So Hourman's powers, I don't know if they're going to change them for the show since this is a time traveling show, but he essentially makes this thing called Miracolo. I don't know if I've said that right. But it gives him the ability, enhanced abilities for about an hour. They call it the Power Hour. His costume looks pretty sweet. He's got that hourglass on his suit, and just it looks like they made it pretty screen accurate. Maybe they'll touch it up for season 2. Maybe season 2 will be them forming the Justice Society of America, and Hawkman is a prominent member. Superman, but I don't think they're going to get Superman in this. But it would be pretty dope if they could, but they're not. Jay Garrick is a member, which, if you watch Flash, that name's important. Alan Scott, Green Lantern, which, if they can make him work in this universe, maybe we can get Hal Jordan finally. Just, holy crap, just so much stuff. And I don't know if the Legends are going to do. Are they going to jump multiverses? Are they going to mess with other stuff that happened in other shows? I don't know. But let's talk about the highlights of the show. The premiere, without a doubt, kicked the show off great. I loved it all. There was some cheese right there. I kind of hate that Laurel is almost the reason Sarah becomes the White Canary. I don't see why there couldn't be 2 Black Canaries. Like, she could just be the Black Canary of the Legends, and Laurel could be the other one. I mean, they kill her off this season anyway. So, sorry. Spoilers for the Berlanti Universe, guys. I mentioned it earlier. I'm just going to keep saying spoilers. I liked Adam a bit. Brandon Routh, actually, even though he only got to play Superman once, you could tell, he's drawing from that to be a better version of the Atom, because the Atom really doesn't get represented that much in these shows. So he's, kind of drawing on his experience from Superman. He stopped being a villain from Chuck, and now he's like, I'm going to be the Superman I know I can be in this team dynamic. Rip Hunter has been solid. Just, the way he dresses, how wacky he can be at sometimes, and how serious he gets. You can tell, he went back to the Doctor Who tapes that he watched and was just watching Matt Smith, or maybe even watched a little bit of David Tennant and was going I get to actually kind of do this now. And just, I can't help but think that he's drawing from Doctor Who experiences for this role, and it's awesome. I enjoy his time gun. That's a bit cool, and it's blue. I'm a big blue fan, if you can't tell. Blue shirt, blue wall. Heatwave and Captain Cold, I was a bit against these two initially being part of them because they're villains. They're going to fuck up every mission. And Heatwave technically does. He becomes Kronos later on in the show. He's this time bandit. He's almost like a time Boba Fett, which they make a joke about that earlier in the season. And I think they just knew, Force Awakens had just come out. They just threw a bunch of Star Wars references in the first few episodes and Back to the Future stuff, since Martin Stein could technically be called Marty. And they actually meet a younger version of him who goes by Marty. Just all kinds of good references within this and throughout this show. And speaking of references, let's talk about some Easter eggs. We get some Jonah Hex action. There's a Jonah Hex episode where they go back to the Old West. They meet an older version of Hot Girl. And it turns out Rip and Jonah had a history, and they have to protect this Old West town, which that was a good highlight of the season. We get to see Soviet firestorms, because Vandal Savage sees the firestorm thing and is like, oh my god, that's incredible. I want to be able to do that and make armies of that. He recruits this Soviet scientist, which is Negative Woman, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll even correct myself here if I need to. She's a really obscure character from the Doom Patrol who tries to become the next Firestorm for Vandal Savage, but ends up accidentally killing herself. Martin Stein tried to turn her good, but he failed. And just another highlight here, Captain Cold. I'm jumping all over the place, but that's just how I am with this stuff. Whitworth Miller just probably had the most fun in this show. Like, no matter what he was doing, his character and just him, like, going like, oh, I've been paying attention. Like, when, I forget what episode and into what reference he was, into what he was talking about, but he just seems to, like, just own the role. Like, he knows he's a bad guy, so he knows he's going to be able to maybe try to recruit that Soviet spy chick, so he ends up winning her over a little bit, while Adam is just, like, out in the dust. What else? Jefferson Jax, he's fine. I enjoy Firestorm, and I know this is a completely new character, so he's the blankest slate in this show, and he's a bit fun. I enjoy. There's a few touching moments with him and Martinstein. Like, there's an instance where one was about to die, and Martin sends him off in the time stream to send him back home because he's like, I made a promise to myself, my wife, and quietly to myself, to Jefferson's mom, I'm making sure this boy gets home alive. Like, I'm not being the reason that her son dies. Just, Martin Stein is a great character. There's just so much potential for this show, and I would like to see a lot more. I would like to see maybe a Booster Gold reference, since he's a time traveler as well, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do that now because they're making a Booster Gold movie. There's just so much good stuff. Overall, I'm not going to rate this season. I enjoy it. You should check it out. Give it the 3-episode test. If you like it after those 3 episodes, keep doing it. And you're asking yourself, what is the 3-episode test? If the show is not able to hook you 2 episodes after the pilot or get the ball rolling and get you excited, in my opinion, the show has technically failed. This show got me hooked. In the middle, it dragged a little bit because I think they needed to get a little bit of filler in there. They needed to drag these 16 episodes out. I think they initially should have just stayed with those 13 that they had. Maybe it would have flowed a bit better. Maybe even just make it a mini-series, cut it down even shorter. But that's just me. That's my opinion. If you guys liked all 16 episodes, good on you. What do you guys think? Did you like Legends of Tomorrow? What are you expecting from Season 2? I mean, I told you what I thought. Let me know in the comments below. Remember, guys, when there's a will, there's a way. Also, keep an eye out for my Flash and Arrow recap videos. They're coming up next, so keep an eye out for that.